So I'm starting the recording and we are live.
Okay, Andy, remind me, I can't tell from my screen if we have members of the public attending.
Sure. Yeah, we do actually. So we have an attendees tab. Right now, you'll just see myself as a sort of monitoring entity, but we have right now no audience members, just myself as a monitoring kind of computer I keep
Okay.
on the side. So you can monitor that list though if you'd like to. Members might be interested. There is a participants button. And then under that tab, there's panelists and attendees. I see we have Mark Rosen here, who's in the audience and then obviously the committee members, you can do roll call, I guess, for that.
Okay. So Mark is attending, but he's listed as a participant or an audience member. There he is. Okay, we got him. Okay. All right, I'll call this meeting of the Community Preservation Committee to order. And first thing I'd like to do, which we don't usually do when we get to have this meeting face-to-face, is acknowledge that it's been a year. The last time we did a face-to-face, and certainly didn't expect it to be this long, and certainly didn't expect that we wouldn't know when it would end. In any event, thank you all for your hard work and participation and keeping the businesses of the city going in the way that we have to, and doing it as transparently as possible with continuing public participation. Okay, I'd like to welcome on board 3 new members, and I'm certainly happy to have seats filled, especially at the start of a cycle. And we have new members, Glenn Richards, representing the Historic Commission, Chuck Griffin, representing the Parks Department, and Tom O'Brien, representing the Housing Authority. Welcome, and I'd like to take the opportunity to, because we have new members, just give a real brief overview of how we proceed and how we have proceeded generally over the years to, in a friendly manner and I think a successful manner, get recommendations over to City Council that have resulted in some very significant benefits to the city and good uses of these public funds. First off, there are resources that are available to each of us, in addition to Caitlin and Andy in the planning office, with regard to individual questions that you may have about how the Community Preservation Act works generally, what projects may be eligible or may not be eligible and why, and what has happened in cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth. And that resource, single stop shopping, is the Community Preservation Coalition, of which we are a member, and we have access through their website and through their direct contact information on the website. They have staff which can answer questions directly for you. It's been very beneficial over the years, not only to have that resource individually, but also to have that group on Beacon Hill really being advocates for the Community Preservation Act communities and their efforts at stabilizing the trust fund and the matching funds at a rate which continues to give a great return to the local amounts that are collected at the cities and towns. In addition to that, we have published, and it's through the city website at the CPA slot, the evaluation criteria that the committee over the years has developed that we refer to as we're reading the applications. And that criteria is broken out by the categories that are eligible for these funds. And those categories are the preservation of historic resources, the creation and preservation of open space and recreational resources, and the creation, preservation, and support of community housing. That's the slots that we have to look at eligibility. The criteria also breaks down how we compare one application to the other, and need to do that because in every event, every year, we have requests for more funds than are available in any given year. So often we are trying to spread out the riches for the most worthy projects in amounts that, although maybe not all that were requested, are amounts that we believe would advance a worthy project. Finally, keep in mind that what we're doing here is creating, at the end of the day, at the end of a cycle, recommendations to City Council, because we don't appropriate any funds. We only recommend to City Council for their appropriation. So at the as we go through the process annually, we get the applications in. We have our first meeting where we discuss generally the schedule of how we're going to approach the applications. At each of 2 meetings, we'll have roughly half of the applicants at the meeting, and they will give oral presentations to us summarizing the most important elements of their application and why they think it should be recommended. And we will get the opportunity to have a dialogue and have question and answers with the applicant at that time. If in advance, as you review the applications and in advance of the scheduled date for that applicant to come in, if you see something that jumps out at you that you would like additional information on, or you would like the applicant to address at the time of the meeting, and it would be fair to give them a heads up that you'd like them to address that, let Caitlin know, and she can by email. You can let her know by email. She can email the applicant that there's been a request for additional information if they can get it, and to be prepared to address a question that you raise. That doesn't often come up, but occasionally it's certainly helpful so that the time in meeting is used more effectively for that applicant if they've got that information in advance. After we go through 2 sessions talking to the applicants, we then have a third meeting, and at that meeting, it's the public can be in attendance, but generally it's executive session, and we're discussing the applications among ourselves and with the goal of making a uniform and most often unanimous at the end of the day decision on the list of applications which we will recommend for some funding and the amount for each application that we will recommend to be funded. Okay, I think that covers generally how we proceed. Let me stop here now, since I've I know you three new members, this is all brand new to you, but is there something that you'd like to ask me now before we go on with the agenda in terms of how we approach the applications and what you may need to be looking at? Good. Okay. We have it.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes.
I was wondering if it might be useful to point out, once we make our recommendations and the amounts and send them to city council, the city council can reject or accept our proposal, but they can't change the amount.
I believe that's correct. I know they cannot increase the amount. However, it may be something that I should review and so that it is current. They may be able to reduce the amount.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is Andy.
Yeah.
I agree with what Mike has just said. I
Yes.
think that they can reduce it, but not
Okay.
increase it.
Okay.
Huh. Okay, but it's good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
parameters are.
Right. And of course, any reduction that would happen, the funds that don't get appropriated would just come back into the general
Right.
fund and use later. Okay. The next item on the agenda is there's a late file application from the Open Space Committee. And I will tell you that history of that is that I fell asleep at the switch because I'm supposed to do that every year for the Open Space Committee. And it just blew by me. So Jordy Vining was at the planning office, was good enough to tap me on the shoulder electronically. And I put it in after the filing date. And as a result, it needs to be voted on. If you were, the committee has to decide by majority vote to accept a late file that is after the application deadline, or one that would, for instance, come in the middle of a cycle for a project that comes up then, and the applicant seems to be in a state of emergency where they need funding in the middle of a cycle. That's not what we have here. We just have a process where it certainly could have and should have been in by the 4th, but it was not. So Jane, could you handle this vote for me and the discussion?
Sure. Do we have a motion to accept the late file application of the Open Space Reserve Fund?
Yeah, this is Glenn Richards. I'll move to accept that application.
Tom O'Brien, I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion?
This is Don Little. I got a point of order. Do we need to do a roll call before we do any votes?
We have to do a roll call every time when we're on
Thanks.
Zoom.
We haven't done a attendance roll call though, I thought.
No, that we haven't. Don, you're all over it. Thank you. Tell you what, Jane, why don't you do attendance and a vote? How's that?
My gosh.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Okay, so this is the roll call. I'm just going to go in order that I have everybody. Is Don Little here?
Don Little is present.
Chuck Griffin?
Chuck Griffin's present.
Paul Healy?
Present.
Michael Doucette?
Present?
Tom O'Brien?
Present.
Mark Rosen?
Present.
Glenn Richards?
Yeah, present and here.
Jane Healy is present in here, and I don't have a list of members. Do we have any other members that were missing on the call?
Mr. Walters.
Yeah,
Of
Don
course.
Walters is,
He said he couldn't be here.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, so he's absent. All right.
Um,
But he is still a member, Andy?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, though, just wanted to make a note, just a reminder, this is rare for this committee to meet with this sort of Zoom platform, but most of the boards have gotten to the habit, every time you take a vote on something, it should be a roll call vote. It seems onerous, but it's part of the remote meeting requirements.
I agree.
Okay, so I guess we'll note that Don Walters is not here tonight. And I'll start over again. Do we have a motion to accept the late file application for the Open Space Reserve Fund?
Okay, this is Glenn again, Glenn Richards. And yes, I'll move to accept that late file application.
Any
Second it. Tom O'Brien, I'll second it.
discussion? No? And so I guess we'll just go down each member then.
That's what we typically do, yeah.
And my order has changed. So Chuck, you're first.
I say yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Jane, yes. So motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, in your packet is the proposed schedule. And we've just assigned regular Wednesday meeting dates on March 24 and April 28, which we generally meet the what is it, the 4th? Used to be the Tuesday, but now it's the 4th Wednesday of the month. And it looks to me like the allocation between the two dates is certainly doable in terms of the almost equal allocation of the projects. So any other discussion or problems with the proposed schedule?
This is Paul. I just had the feeling that the schedule for the first meeting seemed to encompass more of the more complex filings. And so I don't know if we want to rearrange any of those or have a third meeting or just stick with the two meetings and realize that the first meeting may be a longer one.
This is Andy. Could I speak to that?
Sure.
Just based on experience, I wouldn't disagree. I think there's possibility of strong public turnout for a few of those, maybe some public comment that folks might want to make. So whether you're taking public comment on all these, one by one, I guess it's sort of up to you. I think on the flip side, and this is partly due to sort of seeing how meetings go in general, it might also help to sort of get the applicants to compact their presentations and provide the focus for the CPC, thereby allowing the time for the public comment that you want to hear, because you will be meeting on these applications after the presentations at a subsequent meeting to discuss your ranking. So the primary purpose of these meetings is the, overview from the applicant, because you've already got the documentation, and then to hear any public comment on these, right? To me, it seems, I certainly can see an argument for adding another night, but I think it also could be done by keeping everybody on schedule and track.
This is
Yeah.
Caitlin. I'll also note that on the first night, 5 of the applications are from the Newburyport Parks Department, and so I was trying to kind of organize it so they would only need to come on one night. But
Right.
Up to you.
Now, I know the open space reserve is always short, but I'd be happy to bounce that to the second day or the second date. in terms of other than the Parks Department applications.
Yeah, and this is Andy again. I don't have any particular preference. I happen to be speaking to the first one, Market Landing. So if that helps for any reason, I have no problem shifting that date. If up to you, but I have no preference. So.
Okay. Anybody have a strong feeling one way or the other?
No.
Might it might be safer if we were to leave the open space on the first date night and shift Market Landing to the second. Because I think that is the one more likely to get to take some time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Works fine for me. Caitlin, we'll just make that adjustment, right?
Okay.
Yep, we'll do.
Otherwise, if there aren't any concerns, would the committee approve the vote to approve the schedule as revised?
Yes, you think we need a vote on that? I'm happy to.
Sorry, just only because we've done it out of habit in the past and just for the convenience of the office.
Okay. Then can I have a motion to approve the schedule as revised?
Mark Rosen here, so moved.
A second?
Tom O'Brien, second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, do a roll call. Jane Healy,
Yes.
Don Little,
Yes.
Paul Healy,
Yes.
Mark Rosen,
Yes.
Don Waters, not here. Chuck Griffin,
Yes.
Tom O'Brien,
Yes.
Glenn Richards,
Yes.
chair votes yes.
This is Glenn again. Sorry if I zoned out there. Did we change the date of either of those meetings, March 24th or June 28th? Or was it or more the content?
We kept the 2 dates and we moved the first project at Market Landing Park to the Wednesday, April 28th.
Okay. All right, just the content. All right, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Glenn, just to clarify, you probably just misspoke, but I think you said it was June for the second meeting. It's in April.
Yeah, April. Yeah, I did misspeak. Thank you. Sorry.
All right. In your package, there's a draft budget for this cycle.
Yep.
And those of us who've been through some cycles, this looks very familiar. For those of you who have not, it is not intuitively obvious, but we have money from 2 sources. It's a local surcharge, and that's the first item that is estimated to come in for this cycle, this fiscal year. And then we get an amount coming from the state trust fund, which depends on some moving targets. And we are applying a very conservative estimate, at present estimate of only 11% match. I believe that that was last year's. I believe this year's is predicted, it will end up being in excess of that. But just so for purposes of not spending money we don't and aren't going to have, we are going with the conservative 11%. So that's the estimated revenues. The next number, the 101,000 is per Ethan, is the money that is currently in the general fund, community preservation fund, which is maintained at the city, and represents a accumulation of interest, refunded monies from that were not used on other projects, and accumulated basically unspent monies over the years. We have recurring annual obligations to service the stadium bond and the Cherry Hill bond. And we also have recurring annual administrative costs of roughly $12,000. So of that 1.18 estimated total available funds already committed before we start are 151,000. So the estimate of available funds is just 1,037,000. And we also have in a savings account for open space reserve projects that might come up an amount of $629,000, almost 630,000. So basically the number we're looking at for use is the 1,037,000, keeping in mind that for open space projects, we also can access the savings account. That's the open space reserve account. We currently do not have any reserve account for either historic preservation projects or community housing projects. Okay. Any questions about the draft budget?
Question. Kaylee, maybe maybe you know, or Mike or anybody, but the 101,000, that seems higher than what we left it last after our recommendations last year. Are some of those funds funds that have come back from projects that have closed out? I'm asking because of our discussion about sort of following those projects more closely.
Yep. Hi, Jane. I'll have to circle back with Ethan and get a kind of breakdown of that total for you.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think we left 100,000, but maybe we did. My memory is not that great. And where is Bradley Fuller in this? Can someone remind me? Because I know that I read in the staff report that the city council hasn't approved it, and I can't remember. Did we send that? Were we recommending a bond for that or not?
Yes, we were.
The city council is still looking at that, and as I understand it, they have it in committee this week to look at again. Unfortunately, it's been kicking around for quite a while, and the council was looking, I think, for a little more detail on some issues to be addressed before voting on it. So you're right that it was a bonding question, and the council still has that in committee.
Okay, but we wouldn't have a payment this year anyway, even if it did go out.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so that will not impact FY 2020.
Correct.
22. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions about the budget? We will get updated estimates from Ethan for the local amount if that were to if he were to have a better estimate as we get down the road toward our decision-making time, as well as we may get better estimates from the state as the year goes by as to what might come out in November as the match. The coalition keeps a close eye on that as well. Okay. Your packet included quarterly reports. Each project is required to each quarter give us an update of the status of the project. So you have those for your review. They're summarized in the staff report that Caitlin put together as well. When we get further down in the agenda item to other updates, we can take any questions you have from the staff report or from the quarterly reports. Annually, the Community Preservation Coalition sends us an invoice for dues to its members. The invoice this year is for $3,500. And we need to approve the payment of that invoice and the continuation of our membership for another year in the coalition. Do I have a motion to approve the invoice?
Tom O'Brien, I make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, that's Chuck.
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Jane Healy,
Yes.
Don Little,
Yes.
Paul Healy,
Yes.
Mark Rosen,
Yes.
Chuck Griffin,
Yes.
Tom O'Brien,
Yes.
Glenn Richards,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, the packet also contained the draft minutes from our, October 28, 2020. Can't believe it's been that long, but it has, meeting. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mark Rosen, so moved.
And a second?
Tom O'Brien, second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Glenn Richards, quick question. Where we were not around for that, should we abstain from this vote since we have no way of judging the
would-
minutes?
Thanks, Chuck. That would be correct. Yes. Okay. Any other questions or comments or corrections to the minutes? No. Okay, then we'll take a vote on the motion to approve. Jane Healy,
Yes.
Don Little,
Yes.
Paul Healy,
Yes.
Mark Rosen,
Yes.
Chuck Griffin,
Abstain.
Tom O'Brien,
Dane.
Glenn Richards,
Abstain.
and the chair votes yes. Caitlin, the copy that I had in the email was a red line.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that'll get cleaned up before it goes in the file.
That's correct.
Okay,
Correct. We'll accept all the changes that Rachel made in there and we'll
Right,
make a clean
right.
copy for the site. Yep.
thank you. Okay. Okay, on the other updates. From the staff reports, there are a couple things. Andy has asked whether we would consider and make a decision as to whether or not we would allow the applications to be filed in electronic format only and distributed that way to us. I'm happy to throw that out there for discussion. Unfortunately, I'm of a demographic that likes the paper, so it probably puts me in the minority. I don't know.
I'm with you, Mike. Tom O'Brien.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks,
This is
Caitlin.
Andy. Could I speak to that, Mr. Chair?
sure.
Yeah, understood. We have some boards that have migrated, a couple that have migrated to basically all electronic. And it's understandable that some folks, they want to still receive a paper copy. I would ask if it's possible, if enough members are comfortable with the online versions, again, trying to save paper and distributions and so forth to sort of make things seamless with the times. If it's possible, if the generic could be that members go electronic, but that a specific members that want a hard copy, just let us know. That would just reduce the number of copies that we have to then print and use paper for or have distributed. Just a thought, whatever works for you, of course, as a committee, but we're just trying to automate things for efficiency.
Sure. Caitlin, I assume that per the instructions on the application that the applicants are still bringing in 10 copies?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Would, how would it affect your workload if the applicants only submitted electronically and then, you know, half the committee said, I want copies? So you'd have to print them, right?
That'd be right. Yep. We have to print them in the office,
Okay,
which is, we're happy to do.
okay, all right. Well, I guess for my personally, if I can get a hard copy, that would be okay with me. Would I guess the public's access to the applications, if they want to see any of them, they can always go to the website and do it that way.
Correct.
You may have an issue where somebody doesn't want to negotiate the website, or like me, would want to come in and see the hard copy. So, you know, possibly for public access, you may want at least one copy in a
Yeah, we would
hard
always
copy
take one
file.
hard copy for the file. Yeah, that's
Okay.
always, yeah.
All right.
And we could, given that that doesn't affect this round at all, we already have hard copies for this round, really. It would be, the assumption is if we're making this shift, that we would go electronic with the next round, check with you, all the members that are currently, you know, if for some reason someone leaves, checking with all of you current members, you know, the next round. Anybody who wants a hard copy, we'd have those printed out for you. Otherwise, we would ask you to just go to the website, and it just reduces the amount of, you know, trees we're killing and, you know, distribution we have to do of duplicative things that are automated. So.
Sure. Okay. Andy, would you like a vote to that effect to change the rules of the committee in terms of the number of applications that need to be submitted?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Just to, you could move to make the change effective accordingly, and we'll just reflect that on the application form. That way applicants aren't wasting or killing trees, and we're not wasting trees either. We'll just do the minimum needed, that our hard copies are needed, the one in our files, and everyone else can go to the website.
Okay. Then let me try this on. I move to amend the rules of the committee such that applications can be submitted electronically only, with at least one hard copy being maintained in the planning office
Not that.
files, and
Yeah.
any committee member who wants a hard copy can request it and get it. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Chuck Griffin, I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Tom O'Brien, I always want a hard copy.
Will do. No
Me
problem.
too. Me too. Yeah.
We will make sure anybody who wants a hard copy gets one.
Thank you,
Right.
Caitlin.
Okay. All right, let's do roll a vote. Jane Healy,
Yes.
Todd Little.
Yes, reluctantly.
Okay.
I'm Don. We'll get you a hard copy.
Paul Healy,
Yes.
Mark Rosen,
Yes.
Chuck Griffin,
Yes,
Tom O'Brien,
Yes, more than reluctantly.
Glenn Richards.
Yes.
The chair votes reluctantly yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
There's in addition, is as referenced in the staff report and also in your packet, is an email that was received
Yeah.
about the potential for wanting to put together an application for a community garden and seeking some assistance and advice on that. It appears since the email that Caitlin has reached out to the individual that sent the email, and it appears it's not going to be an issue for a current application, but possibly a future one. And that the person has been given some direction seek out additional information and resources. It looks to me like there would need to be some coordination with the Open Space Committee, the Concom, and maybe the Parks Department and the city generally in terms of what opportunities there were for space for such things, and as well as the infrastructure construction that would be necessary. Mostly the water getting to the site. So I think we should be open to needing some additional coordination and assistance to this person for any kind of a feasible application to be presented to us in the future.
Mike, it's Mark Rosen. May I speak?
Sure.
I have some direct knowledge and experience with these kinds of projects. My wife has been involved with getting some gardens established along the rail trail, and the Parks Department has been very cooperative. It's been done, in other words. The city has provided large rain barrels that they fill weekly with water. It's not a difficult matter in terms of city resources. Depending on where the property would be, would determine, obviously, which department would need to get involved. But I've seen it done and it works quite well.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Chuck Griffin with Parks.
Yes,
It would
Chuck.
seem to me that this is, well, as you say, it depends where the land is, but could very likely be something that Parks would be involved with. And I would think that the person that wants to follow this should consult Parks Department. I don't really see it as a CPC function.
Okay.
I had a question or a comment,
Yes, Don.
either for the Parks or Open Space representative. Unofficially, do you know of an acre of land that could be used for this?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Are they looking for an acre?
That's what the letter says.
That's a lot of land.
At least, it says.
Yeah, at least an acre, right?
Oh, okay.
And a mule.
How about down by the waterfront?
Here to find. Mike, were you asking just for someone to be a resource if they do decide to file an application next year?
I guess
Or-
indirectly, I just, yes, in the sense that we should be ready to assist.
Okay.
Because it's a complicated package to put together. But I believe there's interest in the city because we've heard of it before, just not as direct as this communication was.
Okay. So what are we discussing this just as a heads up for members then, or?
Yes, at this point, when I realized that it wasn't something imminent. Okay, Caitlin, am I correct about that?
You're correct. We pass it on to you because it's a correspondence directed to the whole group, and we've connected the resident Kate Hanlon with Lisa Reed, Parks Director, and Parks Commission Chair Kimberly Turner. So they're kind of taking, they're connecting with her to see if they could put something together for an application grant cycle in the next year or two.
Okay, good.
And I
Kate,
think, oh, sorry, Mike.
go ahead, Jane.
Yeah, and Caitlin knows, I'm sure already have done this or would think of this. If they do contact the planning office again, or any of us, we can let them know that we're going through our decision-making process this year, and they may want to pop into the meeting just to see what it's all about.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Caitlin, quick question for you from the staff reports. Do you know what the status of the conservation restriction is for the Colby Farms open space over there in that development?
I would like to ask Andy Port if he has an updated knowledge about that.
Yeah, the city, Mike, it's hard. I could pull up an image actually to show if you want, but the lot 8, the city already owns. That's the L-shaped one. The 2 that are closest to the street have been conveyed to the city there. So matching that frontage there is ours, but the large piece of the back has not yet been conveyed. That's going to be done. I think it's the last unit in the occupancy of the development. So we're basically expecting this spring to have that larger piece transferred to the city.
Okay, and is there a plan to put a CR on that land once the city owns it?
Yeah, there is. It won't be, it's something that we need to do. However, it's not a crucial or urgent thing. I know you and I and Jordy and a few others have spoken a lot about open space management. And so what we're trying to do is have a coherent and organized way of doing that for all the city parcels. This is one of the focuses right now, as you know, because it's a new acquisition essentially, or that the city's getting in terms of open space to monitor and preserve in its state. So we are looking to do that, but maybe that's something that we could work on with the Open Space Committee. Obviously Julia Goffritz and Jody Vining and myself, we could begin working on that piece of it. However, it's not quite as important, in my opinion, as the question of how we're going to manage that land or what state it's going to be managed in, and keeping that going, because that, if it's not stayed up on seasonally, could have an impact. Whereas we know this land has to be preserved just by its purchase. And so although the restrictions needs to be followed up on, it goes without saying that it's in force and effect just by the acquisition, that we can't be using that land for, say, building another public works facility or something like that.
Understood. I didn't realize that the large parcel, lot 1, hadn't been conveyed yet either. So,
Question,
yes,
CR, does that mean conservation? restriction?
conservation restriction.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, apologies if we've been using acronyms.
Sorry. Okay. Does anybody else have any other new business or questions or comments from the staff report?
This is Don Little. I did one of the quarterly reports, the Pilot Mile walkway replacement was down near the end. The applicant's update says it might be changing the material that's used. And in section 3 of the update, it states, if necessary, seek permission from CPC to alter the material to be used. It also says, might complete the project in spring, summer of 21. So I didn't know whether we would need to confirm, whether we'd need to decide whether that's a change of the application and then tell the parks director.
I don't recall offhand whether the scope of that project was described with particularity, like specifically the materials to be used. Frankly, I think in that area, it might be best to have the historic commission weigh in on it.
And Chuck Griffin, can I speak to this?
Sure, Chuck.
I'm sorry that I can't remember the name of the product, nor did I get a pitch from the salesman who was pushing it with the city, but it's used mostly on more commercial looking projects. And my interest and others on the Parks Board is to have this be more of a gravel-like appearance. And we know of a product that's been used in Boston, the north side of Boston, and the snow has it covered, or we would be out there looking at it, kicking it literally, and proposing whether we want that. So it's 2 different specifications, and both of them can support wheelchairs, which is a problem. But it'd be nice if, we'd be happy to take it to historic if that's I don't know that that's a real fit here, but.
Yeah.
um,
I
That's what-
think if they, you know, if the change in materials affects in a material way their budget, you know, we might be seeing them again for that purpose. But I just, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the application and see if there were limitations on the materials or whether they were locked into one material in the approval. So,
Mike,
yes,
I didn't hear it. What project are we talking about?
this is the walkways at the Mall.
Oh, okay.
Don, does that answer your question?
Yep, I don't have enough experience to remember what criteria we use for requesting the applicants when they make a change.
Okay. Usually it's scope, you know, where they're instead of doing a walkway, they decide to pave a parking lot. You know, that would be a change in scope. That's generally the way I look at it. So.
This is Andy. Just to be clear and kind of simplify the process for everybody, the only things that are memorialized, because remember Mike said earlier, the committee functions as an advisory board to the city council on this appropriations category. So when the city council makes that appropriation, the things that are memorialized at that time and formal related to the appropriation of funds is the city council order, and then the committee's recommendation, which the language we use now and have been using, I think, for the last 2 cycles, incorporates by reference the committee's recommendation so that each project description, so whatever's in that paragraph for that project that's referenced in the city council order is what's memorialized in terms of limitations on the project. There might have been other materials that were, presented during, for a project, for instance, but unless they're referenced in the council order, which would be rare, or the project description that is written up for the committee's recommendations to the council, those details would be left outside of it. But if something's referenced in those documents, that would be captured as maybe a substantive detail. But Mike's correct. We should take a look at that more specifically to this instance. So.
Okay. Yeah, and I think in some projects, the materials are important to the preservation of the community character. And therefore they might find their way into, the specific description that we're recommending. Other than that, generally, I don't think we get that far into the weeds. So, anything else? Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Any new business? Okay, our next meeting, and it will be the first group of applications we'll hear from. That's on March 24th at 7 p.m.
I presume that's 2021.
Yes.
Yeah, 2021 in our lovely Zoom format. And I look forward to having everyone having examined the applications. Let Caitlin know if you need any additional information from any of the applicants that we'll be hearing from. And they will be ready to answer your questions and speak with you at that time.
Excuse me, Michael, this is Glenn Richards. Maybe this was in the package, which I don't have, but how to focus on that first batch, how can I find out which applications will be in that first batch?
There was a schedule, a separate document that lists the applications by into 2 dates. And when we looked at the schedule, we took one of the applications from March 24, that's the Market Landing Park expansion, and we moved that to April 28. So that left 6 in the schedule that will happen on March 24.
Okay, is that not on the CPC page on the city's website?
Caitlin distributed it, and I believe it's posted on the page. If not, we'll double check and make sure it's there.
Okay.
And it was emailed to everybody in the committee. I assume you got it.
All right, I'll look again on that.
Okay. And hearing no additional business, I think we have once again efficiently concluded our business for the evening, and we can adjourn. See you all in a month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
You need a roll call.
Do we, oh, man. Okay. If anybody says no, they're in trouble. All right, Jane Healy,
Yes.
Don Little,
Yes.
Paul Healy,
Yes.
Mark Rosen. Mark, you already gone? I think he
Yeah.
is.
He
Chuck
listened to you.
Griffin,
Yes.
Tom O'Brien,
Yes,
Glenn Richards,
Yes.
and Chair says yes, and thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay,
Night, everybody.
good night.
Night.
Good
Night,
night.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Caitlin.
Good night.